Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
All right, today, you guys, we've got another installment of our going through the top 100 games on Board Game Geek. All right, so this is a giant list on Board Game Geek, which is a website, board game compendium of all these different games. We've gone through 2 sessions so far, so today we're going to be talking about our 3rd installment.
And we just want to make a note that this is a screenshot of the list from the beginning of March. This is a fluid list, so it does change a lot. So this is a screenshot, basically, of what happened then, because it may have changed if you go to check it today. But let's get started. Okay, so we're starting with number 80, and that is Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island. This was
so much adventures on the Cursed Island.
So many adventures. This is a fun game to where what you do early on in the game is going to affect what happens later on in the game. An example would be you eat some questionable meat. Later on in the game, you get sick. So this game is really neat about how that kind of works out. It's a cooperative game. You are Robinson Crusoe trying to survive on this island. Yeah,
this is a tough one. We love tough cooperative games.
We do.
This definitely brings the heat. This has got a low win ratio for us, which we actually like. And it's got it's not really campaign style mode. It's more of like an episode style game, right?
Yeah.
Where you can play the same episode over and over again, or you can play a different episode with a whole different sets of goals and things that you're going for. You kind of explore and reveal things as your game goes on. This is a fun one. This is super good. I love this game here in the top 10 or the top 100 list.
All right, number 79 is Teotuhuken, City of Gods. Please, I know that I'm saying that wrong, and I do not mind being corrected. You can let me know in the comments below about how you actually say that. I said it like 100 times before we started recording.
Teotuhuken. Toucan.
Toucan?
I don't know.
Okay.
This is a incomprehensible word.
Yes, but it's a super popular game. I hear people talk about this all the time.
Yeah, this is a game that has even spawned a sequel to it. There's like the founders of Teotuhuken, whatever it is.
Oh my god!
And it's just one of those games where it's on the heavier side, right? It's kind of the Euro mechanisms, and it's a little bit heavier, but also at the same time, I think that's what kind of defines the top 100 list a little bit. We've seen a lot of those games. Even Robinson Crusoe had a high list, and as we go on through the rest of this list today, we're gonna see some pretty heavy games. But yeah, it's got that dice worker placement thing going on. I love it when games do that, when they use dice as workers.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a great game.
All right, so let's carry on to 78, which is Fields of Arle.
This is a 1 or 2 player only game. I've only played it once, and I played it as a 2-player game. This is an Uwe Rosenberg game, which I feel like he only does 2 games. He's either a game about like worker placement and farmers, or like polyomino like tiling games.
That's it.
If you're lucky and if he's for Odin, it's both. Yeah. It's both combined.
I mean, in his defense, he does those really well.
Right.
Why deviate from what you're great at?
Yeah, so this one, it definitely is on the farmer side of things as opposed to the tiling side of things. Not being said, there is some tiles, and you are basically going through as a farmer. You're trying to kind of get the fields ready for animals, putting animals out there, trying to get as many points as possible. It's a heavier one. It's going to be a little longer game too. I played it 2 players, it's about 2 hours.
Fudge me buckets.
For a 2-player game, it's a long one.
Oh my gosh.
But that being said, it was pretty enjoyable all the way through.
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is in the top 100 of all time. I don't see this getting played a lot. I don't hear it talked about a lot. It could be because it is, that also has a solo mode, and maybe it's why it's so ranked high, because it's a really fantastic solo game for these heavier style games, and we just don't see a lot of that, I guess.
Yeah.
And we don't see that side of the industry as much, so maybe that's why it's so high. But is this the top 100 of all time? Maybe not. I can think of a lot of other Rosenberg games that I had an even better time with than this, that we might even talk about later on.
Speaking of, it's funny that you mentioned that, because number 77 is Agricola, but specifically revised edition.
Boo. Okay.
Yeah,
so
it's begun.
Before we get into the game of Agricola revised edition, let's talk about this list. This is kind of a discussion about the BGG and top 100. Agricola itself, we're going to talk about later on in this top 100 list in subsequent weeks. Is that okay? Should there be the same game, Agricola, and then Agricola Revised Edition, taking up 2 spots in the top 100?
Especially if they're extremely comparable. Like, it's different if, I don't know, it's different if it's like the game were published 20 years separate from each other and it's almost like a different game.
Yeah, it maybe shares the same name or the same root beginnings, but it's shifted into a completely different game.
Yeah.
Or it's a sequel to the game, or whatever the case is. But if it's just a different edition, is it really a different game?
Yeah.
Is it really a different... Does it ever deserve to be in the top 100 twice? Probably not.
Yeah, we would like to hear your comments. Let us know down below. But what is Agricola?
So the base game of Agricola is just this... Okay, again, it's a farming simulation. You've got a very small...
What? Umi does farming!
He does it great. He must be a farmer in a minute. I don't know. But basically, you have these people who are going out and they are building all these different buildings. They're farming, they're raising animals. They are raising crops. They are getting all these different upgrades and improvements to their farm. The revised edition basically is kind of a streamlined-ish version of the game, right? Kind of gets you into the action a little bit faster, and it gets you kind of less options, I suppose, than the original Agricola had. A really, really expansive game. So that's kind of Agricola in a nutshell. I love Agricola. I would choose the original version or the big box edition with all the expansions before I chose this revised edition, though.
Agricola is what I call a birthday and an anniversary game. I will play it with you on your birthday and our anniversary. That's it.
And I'm going to, every birthday and anniversary from here on out, I'm locking you in that. But I'm also going to play it online, because that's where I get most of my plays in.
All right.
This game.
So let's carry on. Oh, that is true. That's probably why you haven't asked me for it in a long time.
I don't need you anymore.
Yes, online gaming. Okay, so number 76 is Through the Ages, a story of civilization.
So once again, what the heck? This game's going to show up later on, not today, but in the future weeks.
Yes.
As what was it called? The other version, Through the Ages, a new story.
A new story. Yes,
it's the same dang game. It's just a new edition. It's a little fancier, a little more, a couple extra cards in there, a little bit more streamlined, whatever it is. It's the same game. Shouldn't be allowed, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, so
you get one entry, Through the Ages, one time, kick it off.
So we just mentioned right here, there's potentially 2 other games that could be living on this list, but because there's 2 editions of the same game, they're not. So there's like other games that could be explored on this list that will not be explored because of this edition issue. But, so you were saying that you played this with my brother-in-law.
This is one of, your brother-in-law, my friend's Matt's favorite games.
My brother, your brother-in-law.
That's what I said. Something close to that. So yeah, in person, this is a really fun game. It's also available online, and it's a little less fun because there's kind of the engine building thing going on, and you lose track of, like, it's a long game. There's a lot of different turns, and you lose sight of, like, what was I going for again? Like, you come to the game a day later, it's like, I forgot what I was going for. That being said, in person, this is much more enjoyable. But again, it's a heavier game. I almost need like a reteach every time I play it in person, just because I lose the finer details to it, right? I know the base things to do, but like, how do you really win the game? Can you remind me again? But yeah, this is a really fun game. If you like those kind of Civ games, those Civ computer games, or even the board game Civ games, those kind of the Civilization, stuff like that, this is a really good Civilization game in a one evening kind of a setting, as opposed to like a multi-campaign kind of a thing, and yeah, lots of cool upgrades you can do. The engine building, the things, your civilization devolves over time. It's really neat.
All right, so number 75 is 5 Tribes, and before we talk about this game, I've never played this game, but I'm really fond of this game, and here's the reason why. So this game came out...
You never lost it? Is that why you're fond of it? She's never lost you guys. She's just won 100% of the games she's played.
100% of the games I played. Okay, so this came out in 2014, and that was when I was really starting to get into the hobby in terms of like consuming stuff. So this is when I was listening to way too many board gaming podcasts, but it was so fun to hear all these different people who play different styles of game, would talk about different games, but how they were all talking about this game, how they all liked this game, and how it was fun to just listen to these different personalities on different mediums, or not mediums, all podcasts, but too many podcasts, but they're all talking about this. So I'm just like really fond of this game because it's one of the first games that I saw that did that when I was listening to a ton of that stuff, where they just all liked it. And so it was fun to hear these people talk about it, fun to hear these people talk about it, fun to hear these people talk about it. So even though I've never played it, like, I just like have really fond memories of a game I've never played.
Well, during that same time period, I was going to this board game meetup here in town, and I felt like every single night it was one table was playing it for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and so I got to play this game a lot. It's got this kind of Mancala style mechanism where you kind of pick up all these meeples off of this one spot and kind of put them down and sprinkle them down on a board one at a time as you're moving around, and then wherever you landed, that's where you actually would be, that would be your final spot. That's where you do your stuff. And this also had this really, I don't know, as all the Days of Wonder games kind of had this really great production value, right? I think at that time period, and maybe even a little bit before, this was transitioning from, people were just fine with like really, really kind of bland, beige kind of cards and boards and stuff like that in at least on the Euro side of gaming, which is where a lot of our kind of early gaming happened. But also, Days of Wonder was the company that was pushing the envelope for production quality. They were the ones who were saying, you know what, we're going to use big old chunky bits, we're going to use a ton of different meeples, and we're going to make this game be a really great production. So as you're playing games that have like a higher production quality, I think you have Days of Wonder to thank for that, and this kind of era of this Five Tribes era of games of Days of Wonder to thank, because they kind of push the envelope. This is the new standard. We want pretty games that also have solid gameplay.
Yes, we want both.
So thank you, Days of Wonder, and thank you, Five Tribes.
All right, so 74... Five Tribes, thank you, Five Tribes. So 74 is Clank, a deck-building adventure. Now, we were complaining about different editions and stuff, and I want to separate legacy games, because I don't think legacy games and the games that they were based off are at all the same thing.
They're very different experiences. They have similar core mechanisms and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, they are different.
Yeah, and you know that a game is like super popular when it gets a legacy. The fact that Clank has a legacy game with it, like that's based off of it, you just know it's awesome. This game is so much fun. It is a deck building dungeon crawler. It is like, even when you don't win and you get up and somebody like has all this stuff and they're getting up and you're like, are they gonna make it? I don't know if they're gonna make it. And my brother and I want to play this game all the time, so much so that like you can literally see Ryan's disappointment when he's like, what game do you want to play? And we're like, Clank. And he's like, oh.
Here's the thing, I love Clank. Clank is phenomenal. It is so good. It is probably my top 50 of all time. It's great. But I also, maybe it's because we do reviews, maybe it's because I'm just hard to satisfy. I don't know. But I like variety. I like playing a lot of games one or two times instead of like one game 100 times. So that being said, this is a game that everybody wants to play this game. And I never have to ask for it. I get to play it all the time, but I never have to ask for it because somebody else always is. So I want to go on to a different game, but I'm never disappointed.
We just really get back to Clank.
Even when it gets out on the table, and that wasn't what I was in the mood for. When it gets going, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm invested, and I am in. I love this game. 100% deserves to be in the top 100. Top, I don't know, really good. I don't know. For me, this is a great game. This is...
All right, so number 73 is Race for the Galaxy.
Race for the Galaxy is like the opposite for me. This is the game that I want to play like a lot. I want to be playing this constantly, but no one ever wants to play with me.
There's too many games to play. I need a lot of variety in my life.
Oh my gosh. Are you hearing this, people? Are you hearing the hypocrisy? Oh my gosh. No, but Race for the Galaxy, what a cool game. This has got one of those kind of, that Puerto Rico style mechanism where you choose an action, but then everybody else gets the same action, but maybe a lesser version of it, right? And so you don't really know what all actions are going to be played that round because you're kind of trying to wait to see what they do. If you really need to do something, though, you choose it yourself. And that might mean multiple people choose it. What I think kills this game is the symbology. It is, like Seven Wonders, for instance, is notorious for a lot of symbols. This, I would say, has even more different symbols in this game. They're all kind of similar, too, so you really have to know what's going on. But it's so much fun. What a cool game. As a dice spin-off, the dice version is not as good in my opinion. Audio like is faster. I just don't think it's quite as satisfying. So if you sacrifice goodness for time, it's not worth it to me. But Race for the Galaxy, really cool game. It was in that same era as like Dominion from Rio Grande, where they pumped out 1 million expansions, and they were almost all good. But because of that, it's kind of gotten very, very bloated as well. So it's harder to get people to come back to it and learn all these symbols. You had to kind of almost start coming at the jumping on point to be able to enjoy it, because I don't see people like starting with Race for the Galaxy now as often.
Yeah, makes me
but it's still
curious.
well regarded.
Like, Let us know in the comments below, because I just thought of this and I'm super curious about it. Is there any game that you had thought about, but because there were so many expansions, you just pass it on by? You're like, I'm not even going to get into this. I'm not even going to try. There is too much now. I am very curious. Let me know in the comments below.
That actually segues really nice into our next game.
It does, doesn't it? Okay, so number 72 is Aeons End.
For me, this is that game. This is that game where, because I didn't get on the ground floor...
That wasn't planned, by the way.
I just go with it. It was completely planned.
Yes.
Because we didn't get in on the ground floor of this game, we haven't really started it, you know? But this is a game that's right up our alley. Everything about this game is something we would love. It's the bigger, more involved deck building game, the engine building. It's got the kind of that chip pull style mechanism. It's cooperative deck builders. We love the cooperative deck builders. Sign us up for all of them, but not this one because we don't have it. So I think this is a game that I hear talked about a lot. It's got a lot of expansions and sequels. Even a legacy game, right?
Does it?
I think so. Or maybe it's announced but not out. I can't remember. Maybe I'll have to edit this out. We'll see when I find research later. But no, this is a great game that I think I would love. I think you would too. It just hasn't come across our table yet.
Yeah, I probably would like it. That sounds like lovely. I absolutely like everything.
But again, would we jump in on it because there's already so much content for it? Do we have time to kind of go back and learn and experience all of it?
Or would you feel like, would you feel the pressure, like if you start it, you have to do all of it?
Can you just play the base game, be satisfied with that, playing it once a quarter, and be done? You know,
I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm just never going to play Magic.
Yeah.
I know that like you like to play it with some of our friends. I'm just, there's like, it's too much now. I'm not going to get started in that.
If you didn't start in 1995, you're not starting now.
But you know what I did get started in?
What?
Rivals.
That's different. That's not a CCG.
Oh my gosh, I love that game. Okay,
LCG.
So anyway, so the last one in this section, there's so many more sections, so many more games to talk about.
Up to 7 more sections.
This one, number 71, is Eclipse.
Eclipse, this came out in 2000.
Eclipse, I'm eclipsing Ryan.
The audacity. The audacity.
So like, that's like such a dad joke. I should be embarrassed. I'm totally not.
This came out in 2011, by the way, Eclipse. And first of all, the fact that it's talked about and is this high ranked shows the quality of the game. That being said, and when we were in the hobby, or our level of where we were in the hobby, we were not playing these big kind of 4X sciencey sci-fi style games, these Ameritrash or Amerithrash or whatever you want to call it style games. These big thematic games, we were playing a lot more like the Euro style games, right? And so this wasn't even on our radar. That being said, now I would love to play this game. I don't think that it's going to be my style of game exactly. I don't think it's going to be like in my favorite list because it's got some like negotiation, diplomacy style mechanisms going on. That doesn't seem to be things I usually am drawn to.
In a longer game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it said, I think it's like a 60 to 180 minutes.
That's a big gap.
Big gap.
That reminds me of an anecdote. One of my favorite games of all times is Silverton. It's a super nerdy train game, right? But on the box, before you know what you're getting into, it says on the outside, 2 to 9 hours.
Oh my goodness.
2 to 9 hours.
2 to 9 hours.
I'm like, that's ridiculous. You don't know what... Once you open the box, you realize there's like different modes of the game that you can play, like a short version, a long version, a campaign.
It's not like you start it and it could go from 2 to 9
but when you open before you open the box, it just says 2 to 9, which is hilarious. This is similar. It's like 60 to 180 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
I really like it. This has nothing to do with this list, but I really like it when games put, instead of per, how long it could be, they'll say like 20 to 30 minutes per player. Like, that makes so much more sense to me, because maybe that's what this is. Maybe the 60 to 180 is like how many people are playing. Or
just how much diplomacy and talking goes into it.
Yeah.
If you're with a group who doesn't talk a lot, maybe it's quick.
Maybe it's like, done.
Never.
Over.
I attack you. Game over.
The end.
So, that is our discussion of the next round. This is the third installment of our top 100 games on Board Game Geek.
Yeah.
I think the theme for this one is games that have multiple entries on BGG.
Yeah.
What the heck, guys?
Yeah, that's a really interesting... I don't know. I don't know what to do with that.
Are really both deserve to be there? Should they have knocked off some other games that deserve to be there?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I do like this chunk, though. I've heard of all of these people like them. They rave about them. Like, I understand these games being on the list.
I agree 100%.
Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. And you don't want to miss as we carry on throughout the year to finish this list. If you liked what you saw, consider leaving us a tip. There's a link down below on how to do that. Until then, you can find us in all of these places.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.